Do you remember? Okay, related, because that's dude Arnie. Remember that Arnie has that kid that he had with his housekeeper.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, now he claims the kid is his, but the real funny thing I always found was like how he got away with it for so long, because this guy who is now in his 20s, if you ever look him up on Instagram, he is the clone of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, Jesus, like seriously, you thought you could hide him, this massive Adonis of a man who is like he looks more like him than his like legitimate son. That's what I'll say. Like I'm like, my God.
Is that the deal though with that was always the thing with was it Ronan Farrow? Because everyone's like, oh yeah, he's supposed to be Woody Allen's kid. But it's like, it's very blatant that Mia Farrow like shagged Frank Sinatra. And that's like, you can just see it. Like, look at Ronan Farrow and then know that Mia Farrow was hooked up with Frank Sinatra at some point around the time she was hooked up with Woody Allen. And it's like, that is definitely Frank Sinatra's kid.
Plus, we know about these rumors over here because, of
my God, of course.
Prince Harry.
Oh my God.
If Americans don't know, I mean, they might not.
What? No, Americans totally know.
Do they know about that? Like how?
Yeah.
I don't know. As he gets older, he looks a little bit more like Charles. But
I'll say like he could be. Like I'm not saying he wouldn't be. But like when I see the other guy, what was his name? The ex-bodyguard.
Yeah, the one he was like best friends with Harry's mum.
Yeah, and
with
he
Diana.
was just happened to be
What's his name?
Big old redhead.
Dodie L.
No.
The ginger guy.
The ginger guy she apparently had an affair with. Look, we all like. I want to see that on The Crown. Like that didn't happen yet.
How am I blanking on this? I'm English.
Okay, hold on.
I'm Googling.
Yeah, go Google it because I want to know. I always wondered if that's the reason that like Charles really is like so pissy with him now.
Here you go. James Hewitt.
Yes.
James Hewitt. And he really looks.
Oh, come on. You put Charles and James Hewitt next to each other, and then you put Harry in the middle. It's like, who's the dad? But I'll say this about genetics. So Blake is, for those who don't know, I have a daughter named Blake. Blake is half German and half whatever the hell I am. Latina, I guess. Blake is like, in terms of colors, like she got hazel eyes between like my brown and Basti's blue. She's got like chestnut brown hair between my like almost black hair and Basti's blonde. So she went kind of down the middle, but she looks, and all the like my friends all say it. They're like, my God, Stephanie, your child looks so damn white. Now, if you guys ever seen my dad is a legit brown man. Like he's brown, not like, kind of, no, I mean, he's brown. So my dad's a legit brown man, but I'm came out kind of light. And he's Blake's, grandfather genetically. But like if you put Blake next to him, they look nothing alike. Meanwhile, my stepfather, who is at all not related to Blake, is like a white guy, fat white guy. And when like he holds up Blake as his granddaughter, like people have like put in the comments, oh, she looks still like you. That's so good. I'm like, she's not related to him, but people assume she is because she took on those features. So I'll say that much. However, that royal family, they're just nasty and low down. They're like the most ghetto. Yeah. They're the ghettoest classy family.
Yeah, they are totally.
They could be on the Springers, man. For all their like family disgusting. Like, here's the closeted racist. Here's the non-closeted racist.
Well, that's the thing. When it came out, like Harry and Meghan saying like, one of them said racist things about the child. It's like, well, of course they did.
Oh my God. The fact that people were saying, okay, so here's the funny thing. I made a video on YouTube like a few months back talking about, the Meghan Markle interview because I watched it. And like, look, I always say, I don't care about Meghan Markle. I'm not a stan. I do find her a little bit disingenuous when she speaks because I'm like, she's got an air of like Hollywood elitism to her.
Yeah. That's a different reason you don't like it. Like that.
But I don't think she's lying. Like, I'm like, no. I 100% believe her. Like, I'm like, yeah, that sounds exactly like that. What would happen?
We know they're racist. Everyone knows they're racist.
I'm sorry, but we've heard this for years. And the fact that they're trying to pretend it's not the case, I'm like, yeah,
That's the thing of talking to like an Irish guy here too. So I'm just like, people have been shocked that there's any kind of anything wrong with the royal family. It's like, oh yeah, like that's I would assume that like, the worst about humanity, I already assume about that.
So a funny story about like Ireland, not funny and tragically funny, is that during when the Great Famine happened, which was like during like Victoria's reign, the Sultan of Turkey sent more money to help the Irish than Queen Victoria did. And Queen Victoria wouldn't allow all that money through because she didn't want it to seem like another foreign power was giving more aid than she was.
Oh, that makes perfect sense, especially because during my history degree, I had to study that as well. That's an amazing fact. I wish I knew. I could have brought that up. But
sorry, he was the Sultan. It was the Ottoman Empire at the time, not Turkey.
Oh, Ottoman.
I mean. Yeah.
Essentially, like they had a discussion. This is all going to be bonus material, isn't it? They had a discussion in Parliament about this, and essentially decided, like, maybe if we don't help them, they'll die, and it'll solve the problem, and we can move in. That was like a legitimate policy.
I 100%
let's just let them
that.
die out.
The amount of people, they were saying like some insane amount of people are like the country never got back to where it was like even now. And more people of Irish descent left. Like the Irish are all in America, essentially. There's more Irish, quote unquote, in America. I know people always make fun of it. Everybody says they're Irish, but I'm like, no, actually, the large amount of them are, because they came. Because what else could you do? It's like, I can stay here and starve to death, or I can try myself at Boston, become president.
Yeah.
That still is a thing though. Like people who only know me through this show, so they don't know me like personally and stuff, like friends through Facebook and whatnot. There are times where they still refer to me as British or English.
Oh, I've noticed that, and it gets me as well.
Yeah, and every time I think they get a bit like, what the fuck's the problem? Like I'm always like, no. Like I'm like, I am not English. And they're like, what the fuck's your problem? I was like, I'll tell you my fucking problem.
You know what it is now? You don't have what we consider an Irish accent based on what we think an Irish accent is, because we have a very limited Lucky Charms and all that. Like that's what we think is the
one accent.
Exactly. And you don't sound like that, so it's like people would guess Canadian, I would think. Do you get Canadian now? I would assume you do.
I do. I think because I do actually, because my accent actually is a little difficult to understand. For the purposes of the podcast, I do like affect a bit more of a performative voice. So if you get me in casual conversation, I don't sound exactly like this.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, it's gotten closer as the show has gone on, I think. But yeah, because again, as I said, when I first moved over to England, I would just talk to people and they'd just look at me and like, what? Like they just didn't get anything that I was saying. So, but anywho,
yes,
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin.
That's a lot of bonus material.
Yeah, there you go.
What happens now? Oh.